Hey there, and welcome to this bonus lesson on tracking in After Effects. This is about content aware fill, which is a newer feature of After Effects, depending on when you're watching this. So, what content aware does is it can remove objects from your footage that you don't want there anymore. And it does this by tracking, you have to track the footage, and then it kind of fills in that track with new footage essentially that it creates. So it's really easy to use content aware. Some people get kind of caught up in the how to actually use it, but sometimes it can do an amazing job. Sometimes it doesn't work so great. For this particular example, we're going to make it look great. So what I have here is my footage, and you can see I have a mask that I drew around this car. So what I want is I want this car, which is right here. I want this car to go away. I don't want it in the shot for whatever reason. Let's say this is supposed to be the last car in the shot, and this car is not supposed to be there, so I need it gone. Okay, so how do I do that? So the first step is that we create a mask, and we just make a very rough mask around our car, just like so. And with that mask selected, I can go in and I can create a track. So let me track forward and let me just track this real quick. Okay, so it's tracked. The mask follows the car the whole way. Looks great. So how do we use content aware? It's really easy. You go up to window, you go down to content aware fill. Boom, there it is. And let's actually go ahead and just bring this over here. And I'm going to expand this window. We don't really need to, but I'll expand it anyways. So what do we do here? We say we want to replace, we want to fill this street. We want to fill the object. Okay. We want to fill the object. We want to replace it with our work area, which is actually the full composition. And before it can work, I have to say, hey, this mask is subtracted. There's nothing there. I need to fill this with an object. Then all I do is click generate fill layer, and it starts to do its magic. And you're going to see here it says analyzing, and it can sometimes take a long time depending on how long your shot is, how much fill has to be created. So let's just stand by and let it do its thing. And then once it has created a fill, it's actually going to render, and you can see the fill right here. It's all filled in. It's going to render this across the sequence and essentially fill it in. Okay, so it has created a fill, and you're going to see here, this is the PNG sequence, right? So you do want to be aware of where you save your project file, because this PNG sequence will be saved wherever that project file is saved at. So we're just going to play back here, and we're going to see how this actually looks. I see a couple of artifacts in here, which you may or may not be able to see. But the car is somewhere up in here now, which I'm not seeing any artifacts here, which is great. I'm just kind of watching. A lot of times, watching this stuff frame by frame as it previews is great, because it's better for us to get an idea of what's actually happening. So right there, that's all jacked up, right? So we'll have to fix that. And a way to fix that, which that's a really trippy thing that happens there. So what I think would work here is the fact that we're not scaling, we're only using position, we're not using scale to track the car. And that's why up in here, you can see the mask stays too large, right? And the mask is the same size here as it is here. And by the time it gets to this point, the mask should be much smaller. So if we track the scale with the position, so position and scale, and looks like rotation as well, that will probably solve our problem. So let's see what happens by tracking position, scale, and rotation. And let's retrack that. And let's go ahead and turn the fill off here, and let's just back it up. I think that might work. Let's try one more thing. Let's try position, scale, rotation, and skew. And let's see if that does it. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Let's make sure it's set to subtract. It's there. And let's go ahead now and go to our content aware. And let's just delete the fill that was there. Make sure we're selected and let's say generate fill layer. And let's see what happens. Okay, so if we take a look at this now, yeah, that seems to have solved the problem. So let's go ahead and preview this. Everything's looking great. It's got a really nice track to it just by adding the rotation, scale, and skew. Looks like the track is right on. The car in front still looks good. And there we go. So that was the solve to our problem. We had to track more than just position. We had to include scale, rotation, and skew. So I hope that you learned how powerful it is to use mask tracking with content-aware fill. Two powerful combos that can remove objects from your footage. With that, that's going to wrap up the 2D, 3D, and stabilizing lessons in the series. And with that being said, let's move on.